And we're back with round 3. We have James Combrink on Living End against Edward Bell on Eldrazi Tron. This is going to be a pretty interesting match where if Edward resolves Chalice on Zito, you'll probably win the game. And if James resolves Living End, you'll probably win the game.
The thing is, Edward must know what James is on by now. Right?
James only had to play one round. It is a very high possibility Edward has
sure.
no idea.
Thought not say very good in this matchup.
If he can power it out early.
Does James have a Living End in his hand? I think so.
I think it is. Yes, it's a Living End in hand, along with a Gutter Snide.
Do you muddy that hand?
I think you mull. I could be wrong. He's
Okay.
keeping it though. And we'll start Edward starting with Eldrazi Temple. James starting with Blooming Marsh. And yeah, Matty Shaper.
One of the better cards against Living End, I guess. Get a nice trigger.
Unfortunately, I believe Matty Shaper reads when it dies. And Living End
Is
actually,
it should work?
I think it actually does work. He could be dead. It only exiles cards from the graveyard. Living End does however get around Grafdigger's Cage.
Does it?
Yes. Because
sure,
Living
they're
End
not
leads. No, they're not entering from the graveyard, they're entering from exile. They get
Okay.
exiled first. And at this point, Edward could be thinking James is on Junt.
I mean, if you see that creature, right, you have to know it's Living End at this point.
Oh, sure, he did cycle.
Edward's probably just thinking, I'm going to bring all 3 relics in next game.
And yeah, we're going to see Thought Knot.
Cyclone response. I mean, you usually lose creatures here, isn't it? Oh, sure. I mean, at least cycle the Street Wraith, I guess. It's free mana.
The thing is, his
Yeah.
opponent's probably taking the destroyed target Thought Knot Seer.
The Shriek now.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
So there's no need to cycle into something he could possibly use to Living End.
Sure. Archfiend or Ifnir. How good is that card going to be? I mean, if you're playing against a creature based deck, that card's pretty
The
good.
problem with that card in this particular matchup is it's very good if you get the opportunity to cycle, but the
the thing
Eldrazi
is,
Tron they can either
They play no
cut you-
removal, right? That actually
That is
exists.
true.
So this
Well,
thing
they
is
do play
definitely-
Dismember actually.
They play Dismember.
Yeah,
Sure. Is that in the main?
I'm pretty sure Edward has it mainboard. Yeah, 2 Dismember mainboard.
Oh, and the Sky
also
Sovereign.
2 Olistas. The Sky Sovereign has been popping up a lot lately online. I think it's a very good addition.
All his dust isn't exile, right? It's just sacrifice.
Yeah, just sacrifice.
Okay, sure.
I think if it was exile, it would be a bit too strong. I've seen some of the Eldrazi Tron decks play a bit more like normal Tron, adding cards like Ugin.
What about Emrakul, the Promised End? Do you believe?
I think Emrakul is slightly too slow
Sure.
for this deck. It doesn't do exactly what you need it to do.
I mean, it's still 13-13 flying.
It is still a 13-13 fly, that is correct. However, in terms of cards in your graveyard, you kind of only get artifact and creature most of the time. Sometimes instant. Hardly ever sorcery.
Okay, cycles. James Reed needing a land here.
The nice thing about the Street Wraiths are basically you can cycle them freely until he needs to draw a land. He is going to 14 here though.
Cycles
Now going
again.
to 12.
think you have to just find a land here.
Mia is just trying to find.
Oh, James getting really unlucky with his cycling. Seen 4 cards this turn, still hasn't seen a land. Chooses not to cycle again. So the first one that actually finds living end is Demonic Conversion, 3 mana.
Yeah, it's Demonic Dread and Violent Outburst. They both cost 3 mana, but one is an instant and the other
James taking a lot of
is a
damage.
sorcery. I think that Reality Smash is good enough.
Quick game 1.
As I said, going to be a pretty interesting game. Unfortunately,
I think things just get a lot worse for James. Game 2.
yeah, with the addition of those sideboard Relic of Progenitus alongside a Warping Whale, which counters target sorcery,
Oh, sure.
it's a bit of an issue for James. I think Edward was preparing for Dredge.
I think you just take out the ballistas here, you put in the Hangerback Walkers. I mean, at least you get the top out of the living end, isn't it?
I think he's going to be more about cut dismember because only
Yeah,
hits one thing,
Yeah.
and then probably going to cut some number of
Sky of Storm is actually quite interesting. It survives the
living end. The problem is it doesn't actually kill anything.
True. Still 6 in the air though.
That is true. So we might actually see James resort to Living Ends mode 2, which is play big creatures, hopefully be bigger than my opponent's creatures.
I mean, you're not going to outrace a Smasher, man. He's always coming in sideways.
Well, James does have
Oh, nice spicy
some
Platinum Empyrean with 4 madcaps. I think that's the play.
Madcap experiment into Platinum Empyrean.
How does Eldrazi beat that?
That's a good point actually.
I think Khan's the only way, isn't it? You just
Yeah,
have to
only
exile it?
Khan in the main board or anything paired with Basilisk Scholar.
Wait a minute, all this dust doesn't work either.
Yes, because it's a colorless artifact.
It's pretty good.
I think that sideboard plan is probably going to catch a lot of people off guard today. I think another card that James would consider is Beast Within.
Brindleball?
Brindleball, gaining the 4 life isn't super relevant.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I don't think it's worth a shot.
Beast
Maybe Deadshot Minotaur goes out. And then like Beast Within I think is definitely going in.
I definitely think you bring in the 4 madcaps and the Platinum. I think it's...
Yeah, I think the Platinum Empyrean package is very good against Eldrazi Tron.
I think playing Tendrils is not great.
I think it's just Beast Within as a possibility and then the Platinum Empyrean package.
Taking out? Do you go 1 down on the living end?
I don't think you actually drop the living end count, but I think you go down on your enablers for living end.
Okay, sure.
Because living end itself is still a way to get through.
Because I mean, if Edward's plan is to bring in all these Warping Whales and Relic of Progenitus, James can go all the way with this Platinum Empyrean.
The thing with living end though is you can still use it as a board wipe, so I wouldn't cut that exactly. Whereas some number of the pieces to enable living end might go out. I think Deadshot Minotaur is probably going out. And possibly Fairy Macabre as well. Maybe Architects of Will, because it doesn't do too much in this match. Players look like they're about ready to start.
Edward looks like he's done sideboarding.
And I
James still looks like he's a bit busy.
think he's taking out. Not quite sure what he took out there.
I mean, I think Tron is probably still the strongest there.
I think Eldrazi Tron
Eldrazi
was
Tron, yeah.
going to be with the deck to beat coming into today. Yeah, if I had to prepare for the tournament, which was a consideration, but I probably would have played a deck to beat this deck specifically. The other deck I would have probably wanted to beat is some iteration of Death Shadow.
I mean, Chalice is just too good, man. Like a Chalice on one stops like a lot of decks.
Imagine playing Infect against Chalice on one.
I played Bogles once. I went against Chalice for one.
Nice deck.
Then they played another Chalice on one. I thought, keep the Sky Sovereign in.
Yeah, I think it's decent enough. Doesn't die to the board wipe. Flies as well.
That's a quick clock. Especially if they're cycling street race and think himself low for you.
You could also equip it with
What's the size of the creatures in Living End? Are they all big? Big guys?
they're 4/4s, 5/4s. I think there's a 6/4 as well.
So they're able to block Smasher.
They're able to block Smasher and kill Smasher.
Sure. So Smasher's not the best card in this matchup. I mean, you
It's
have board
still a
wipes.
pretty good card.
I know, it's Smasher, man. Like,
I think if he's going to cut anything, it's probably going to be some number of expedition map. I know it's good to enable fetching your Tron lands, but it's not a match where you can afford to really
I
dawdle
mean,
around.
don't just cut the Mind Stones if you're on the draw. It's a bit too
Yeah,
slow.
Mindstone on the draw is probably a good decision as well. I would probably cut some number of Dismember because he's bringing in so many ways to draw with his opponent's
I
graveyard.
think Basilisk Scholar you still keep in.
I also see a number of players cutting down a Ghost Quarter on the draw.
Sure.
Now we'll see.
So Living End is majority a Jan deck.
Yeah, in theory it's John deck. Sometimes splashes blue.
Okay, looks like Edward has that Sky Sovereign in his hand.
James has to mull again. Well, actually, no, he didn't mull game one, but he had Living End in hand and not enough lands to actually do anything.
Edward looks like he has a very slow hand also. A lot of threats though, if he gets to the mana.
I think Edward just needs to get a relic down, and then it'll
Yeah.
slow James down long enough. I think that game one was just literally 3 turns, and James was dead.
Turn 3 smash is not a joke.
No, it was actually turn 4,
Oh, because he played the.
because he
Thought-Knot
played
turn
Thought-Knot
three,
in turn 3. Not that that's much better.
He had 2 Living Ends in his hand.
Forced to mull again. Down to 5.
I suppose this is one of the consequences of playing Living End.
Well,
You
there's
can't
only
really see
3
there.
of this,
No, I understand.
like 3
but
out
like,
of 60.
It's one of the cards you can't see in your opening hand, man.
I think in this matchup it's just,
What's the suspend on that 5?
yeah, suspend for, no, it's suspend for 3 turns, but it costs 5 mana.
Okay, sure.
I mean, 5 mana, wipe a board. It's actually Endless Strength of the Dead, I believe, as a Swain card.
Queen knight to 5. That is a keep. 2 cyclists, 3 lands.
I think this has been a bit better than his other hands at least.
Out of the broken lands. That is a very good hand. Unfortunately, all his lands are tap lands.
Well, there is a Blood Grip, so if he needs to, he can shock himself. There we see Edward playing Basilisk Scholar.
Shadows on 0, so no.
No living in
No living.
today. And here's where James needs to see the beast within.
Is that his only piece of removal for artifacts?
I think it's the one he's more likely to bring in. He could have brought in Ingoture as well,
Okay.
which for those who don't know,
Oh, and Edward has the relic. This.
yeah, Edward's hand seems very good at beating Living End. He even has an Endbringer,
And he has a
so
Whooping Whale in hand.
the
Same with
Endbringer
Platinum
at some
Imperium.
point is
Platinum
going to.
Imperial strat won't work, yeah. He's got a Fulminator Mage, which I suppose will slow him down a bit.
I think Fulminator will, well, depending on what Edward draws next, put Edward significantly behind in terms of no threat.
Because he has a cabin at the moment, a waste, and one piece of Tron. So Fulminator Mage, take that Tron piece. James not in a bad spot here, actually.
I think Edward's hand is pretty slow. James can actually find a way out of it. And
James can
Edward,
start playing features.
I think, is going to play a second Chalice on
Zero.
Zero.
Temple as well. What card did James draw now that he won?
Can't quite see because his hand was covering it. Could be an Ingoture that would get rid of the Chalice at least. Although I think he wants to probably save it for a turn where he can.
Okay, the charge call.
Not too sure what this charge call is for. While that's happening, we can have a look at Edward's hand. Endbringer, Sky Sovereign, as you said, Warping Whale.
I think a land as well, a Ghost Water. No, Seagate Wreckage.
Seagate Wreckage, sure.
So he was still not able to. I mean, next turn he could play a.
He actually
Can't play. At least he uses the Warping Whale to make a Scion.
That's a consideration.
So
I mean, he has a lot of ways to deal with the actual living India. The problem is he may not want.
You play Mega Scion. You go up to.
He plays the hand, goes up to 6
play
mana
Endbringer.
for Endbringer, plays the Endbringer,
Start drawing cards every turn.
and also equip the Basilisk Collar, so anything James plays will die to the death touch.
Pretty good combo.
One could say it's a game-ending combo. Yeah, I'm just waiting for James to get back for this
Thing is,
charge
man,
call.
if you're in this kind of position, I think you just go for it, man. Because you have the Relic, you have the Chalice, like you have everything you need, man. You just need to start giving beats in. You're not a control deck.
It would be an actual blowout if.
Oh no, it's definitely a blowout. Like if he has it.
And okay, yes, so James did draw Ingoture.
So what is this?
Basically, you play it with Evoke.
Yeah.
It comes into play and destroys an artifact. He's probably going to attempt to destroy the Chalice of the Void, but it could be the Basilisk Collar because it is an annoying card.
Oh, you think at the Relic? Fair enough.
Sure, okay, target the Relic because you can always try and get rid of the Chalice later. And Edward's going to crack it in response. Then the Jewel is going to get sacrificed as part of its effect.
Going for the beats.
And yeah, we are going to see Edward make the Scion as you stated. Probably going to play the Endbringer. The thing is, James still needs to find a way to deal with Chalice before he can actually get a living end to dissolve here.
James is gonna see what, 2 new cards now?
But is it going to be good enough?
At this point it seems. The thing is, Edward's gonna get punished if that Madcap resolves. Assuming you put it in the deck. But I'll be
Not actually, because the Platinum Imperium can now die to Endbringer.
Oh sure, with a death touch. Sure.
It's one of the few outs Edward actually has against that combo.
Yeah, that play was actually too large for us to see. It's actually pretty good.
And plays a second Chalice for Zero. It gets counted. James pointing it out to Edward. Bit of a misplay there.
So the pointing out of something being counted the Chalice, if James tries to resolve a living end, does it still resolve? If Edward doesn't point it out?
It would technically resolve that way.
Sure.
Because the players wouldn't notice. It would definitely be a warning for both players if the judge catches up on it, which we will be sure to notify them.
Okay. Dryad Arbor, not the best thing with the Embring and a Basilisk Collar.
Like, even without the Basilisk Scholar, it still gets to die.
Yeah. I mean, I just start drawing cards with this Embring in that. In his turn.
It depends what James plays here. I think you always equip the Basilisk Scholar just in case.
Sure.
And then you probably draw a card in your own turn, untap in James's turn. If he doesn't play anything, end of turn, draw another card. This Dryad Arbor is probably here to just take a ping, stop Ed from drawing an additional card.
I mean, there is detachment.
Yeah, you see the equip Basilisk Scholar. The thing is, Edward can't throw 2 cards this turn anyway, so he was always pinging something. And Edward gains a 1.
Chalice for what? Or let's probably throw a card. But I mean, if you see the creature that destroys an artifact for 1, you probably gonna play Chalice for 1?
Well, no, the thing is, the creature's converted mana cost is 5.
Oh, sure, the evoke is.
The evoke cost is 1.
What card is that he drew now?
I think it was an Arcfiend? Did cost 2 mana to cycle instead of 1, so it's probably not
Edward must use
the
untap with
Heart of the
Embringers.
Broken Lands. The judge just checking whether or not it's a forced ability. It is not untapping, it is just a mistrigger.
So that's the untap.
Not too sure what the ruling was there, I'll just double check. I'm pretty sure it needs untap Endbringer at the beginning of each
Yeah.
untap step. So it should be a warning, possibly. This is random competitive RDL, no mucking around.
James is doing the Chalice.
Maelstrom Pulse the Chalice for 0.
Fortunately, Edward has, I believe, another Chalice in his hand.
Unfortunately, Edward played Chalice for 0 into his Chalice for 0.
I think he has another one in hand.
A third one.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate for James.
Just has it all.
At this point, I don't see how James really gets back into it. Edward's going to attack for 5 each turn.
I mean, James draws a land, he can just start dropping creatures down. That's not the best thing in the world, but. Here's this guy Southern as well.
And the boat is just the thing here.
Street Wraith. Sheik Maw.
At least he gets to kill the Endbringer.
Pretty good, yeah.
And yep, drawing a card with Eldrazi Temple, since it can pay 2 mana for Eldrazi abilities.
James can Street Wraith through a card or complete a land here.
I think he's in no dash though, because the Chalice is still on the board.
I think just so that he can start playing. I'm sure, I suppose he doesn't need to right now.
Like at this point, getting a land, only if it's a cycle land will it be beneficial to get it this turn as opposed to
Sure.
the next turn. Think it's 2 violent outbursts in James' hand?
This match actually looks terrible for Living End.
I didn't say it was going to be a good matchup. Was an interesting one, at the very least. And That's going to be 6 points of lifelink going at. Edward's actually on 26, forgot to add his 5 from attacking. Going to equip to the Sky Sovereign.
2 turn clock.
Attack
I
for
don't see how
6.
James really gets out of
Gain
this.
another 6.
He's there anyway.
Well, you can living in at instant speed if you can find a way to get rid of the Chalice. So basically cycle into Ingature and then yeah, Ingature plus something will be good enough.
Maybe that's game.
3 ways to cast Living End, no ways to actually let it resolve.
I think it's 4 now. Yeah, 4 ways.
Sure, 4. All 4. That Chalice been working pretty hard.
Chalice too good?
I mean, it's very strong. It's borderline too good. I think it's almost bannable. I mean, it sees vintage and legacy play as well.
I mean, it shut down this entire deck for 0 mana. It seems
Strong.
strong, yeah. Strong plays.
So Edward probably gonna get Tron online here, or possibly get.
The last Tron piece.
Oh sure, getting the last Tron piece. Tron is now online.
Plays
Can also start drawing cards now since he has no cards in hand. Actually no, he could have 1 card in hand. I think that face down is a card.
Okay, thought not see it first.
Knock knock, who's there?
So what are these? What does the instant speed one do?
Attacking creatures get +1/+0.
Sure.
Doesn't require a target. Whereas the other one is sorcery speed and requires a target. And now he just attacks for 6. And that is game.
James will do the test.
Cast Living End. Get counted on resolution.
Sure.
That is game. And well, that was a pretty quick game.
Didn't expect it to be so one-sided.
I think the game 1 was very fast from Edward, and the game 2 was just all the answers.
All the sideboard cards.
Even some of his mainboard 8.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys for round 4. See you then.